let's talk about it. Well, talk about it some more. Because I feel like every review I see of this product slash device is negative in some orientation or fashion. And I actually realized my last video I did actually mess up and say this device. I thought it was like $500. It's actually $200. I don't know why my brain thought this was $500, but I think it's just because the early reports was there possibility it could be $500, but it ended up being MSRP of $200. Which, at that price tag, I said in my video, if it was like 150, maybe like 130, 120, be a lot more reasonable, and I don't think it would be that horrendously bad. $200 is not like, I will be honest, it's not the craziest price tag for this device. It's so expensive, right? And for what this device is, it really does not make any sense. But let's go ahead and talk about it, because there's a lot of reviews that have been coming out left, right, and center, and I haven't seen many positive ones. And really, it comes down to a couple different factors. If you do not have a good internet connection, this device is a paperweight. That's all it is. There's no use out of this device if you do not have a good internet connection. So if you're, one of the few who, have the best internet connection possible, this is a great device for you in that aspect. Because if you do not have a great internet connection, you're not going to really be able to utilize this device. This device goes off remote play. But the problem is if you have bad internet connection, you're going to drop frames, you're going to disconnect, you're going to have problems with your strength of the actual connection, and you're not going to be able to play in any relatively great fashion if you don't have a good internet connection. Number two, the second biggest problem I have seen with this device so far has been the fact that not every game is optimized for it. You gotta keep in mind, most games, if not all PS5 games, are optimized for the PS5 to be played on relatively a big screen. Whether that is, let's say, a monitor, 28 inches, 24-inch monitor, obviously a TV, 55 inches. They're all made to be played for a somewhat, I would say, big monitor, right? Or somewhat a big screen. Even if it's down to 24 inches. They're not meant to play on this small of a screen. They're not. None of them are optimized to play on a screen this small. Just simply is not the case. So the problem you're seeing now, and a lot of reviewers are saying this, is that, well, yes, some games work on this, not all games do. Because some games, the field of view is simply just not realistic with the size of this device. This device cannot work with a field of view on some of the, some of the games that you're playing on it. So now that's a problem. Battery life has been a problem, according to some reviewers. That's not really that surprising. I mean, this is a screen with a controller on each side. You're not going to get much battery life. You're not going to be able to get much when it comes to, usability of this device outside of just connecting as remote play. Now, of course, that's what the purpose of it is, right? You're buying this device not as a Nintendo Switch, not as a separate gaming console. This is to go with your current, console so that you can actually be able to game, not really on the go, but be able to have someone else, I guess, use the TV while you're playing PS5. But again, that's another kind of aspect of most games are optimized for TV, not for a small little device. Other than that, I haven't heard too many more complaints. Now, again, if you have a great internet, if you play the select amount of games that does work with this device and works well with this device, you're not going to have a problem with it. You're not. And $200, while I think it's a little bit steep over the asking price, and I feel like this device should have retailed around maybe $99.99, maybe at most $130. I'm not going to sit here and say that's the most outrageous price is $200. At the end of the day, okay. I'll give you that, Sony, that's not the craziest price of all time. But again, there is so many what ifs, where if you do not have a good Wi-Fi connection, this device is a paperweight. And if your Wi-Fi goes out, it is actually a paperweight. There is no use for this device if your Wi-Fi is out. There's no use for this device in any way if, again, you want to use this for a very long period of time, because it just becomes a Dead battery paperweight. Again, like I said, I'm just finding myself more and more in the aspect of why did they create this? But I understand why Sony created this. Sony created this because they knew it was going to sell. Right now, it's sold out. And this is exactly why they created this, because they knew it was going to sell out. And for the small demographic who have really great internet, okay, and have that select few games that can be played on this effectively, okay. But it's just not a large majority of people. And again, it really comes down to that. So just know what you're getting into if you do pick this device up, and know what you're getting into when it comes to what it can and can't do. It can't do a lot. It can do the bare minimum, and for some people, that might be enough, right? Because again, I've said many times, like, you could just get a game controller, put your phone in the game controller, but this does give you the haptic feedback of a DualShock controller, which a lot of people like, and that's a really cool factor of this, right? It also gives you that familiar grip, the familiar, feeling of a controller while you're using it. So there are very much positives behind this. It's just that it's like one of those situations where I feel like a lot of people are going to buy this and get into this and not really realize the negatives, right? And they're going to end up being disappointed or upset because the negatives are very much over the positives. Positives is you found a game that works perfect, you have a great internet connection, you're sitting there for around 1 to 2 hours, and you're perfect. The negatives, everything else. Tell me down below your thoughts and opinions. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.